maybe the best place to start would be if you could just give a quick overview of who you are and who Krüger Dirndl are, just so we've got a quick bit of context.
Okay. I'm Carl, head of e-commerce and online marketing at Krüger Dirndl. Working already at Krüger Dirndl for about 8 years. Me and my team, nearly built everything up from the ground at Krüger Dirndl. So we kind of started. Krüger started e-commerce a few years before I was hired, but it wasn't that professional. So we started in 2018 to create like everything on a good technical basis to implementing processes for our future growth. Yeah. So what we are selling is like traditional Dirndl and Lederhosen, in the D2C market mostly.
Very cool. It's very cool. Perfect. So next, what specific challenges or pain points did you have previously before to kind of get you to start thinking about the possibility of working with a CDP or using a CDP?
Our challenges were, or are, as for every brand, that the customer acquisition costs, especially of course for new customers, are increasing constantly, and I think we had still a lot of room for improvement when it comes to work on our already existing customers. That's one side of the medal, that we can better segment our existing customers and approach them better with email marketing, for example. Moreover, when it comes to more efficient customer acquisition via other online marketing channels, we are now able to provide better data to build lookalike audiences, for example.
So with these all limitations, with these all things that you couldn't do before looking at this project, you had no ability to segment your audience in a way?
We had the ability, but not in a that efficient way. Yes.
It's a big manual process.
Yes.
Understood. The classic. And how was that impacting your team? What were the impacts on perhaps like Ella in the engineering team or whoever was kind of having to do that manual work?
Well, how it's impacting? You can't really, you're not motivated to do some things when the effort in the beginning or the work is too high to push it further, you know?
Yeah. I know exactly what that feels like. Okay, cool. And how, in terms of how you were engaging with your customers, how did that impact? What impact did that have on that?
Can you repeat that question, please?
So, in terms of because you were unable to do any segmentation or kind of get really granular with your audiences, what was the impact on the kind of email communications that you had with them?
Yeah, okay. Like our email approach was a one-to-all. A one-to-all approach, and now we are able to differentiate between different customer groups and of course customer needs, for example. And now we are able to exclude customers from our email marketing that we don't really want to approach any further. Perfect.
Cool, that's great. So if we now look at then solution and when we first started talking to you guys, what motivated you to choose DinMo, and were you looking at other kind of tools in the market?
Yes, actually, we made a lot of research, and then had a short list of three three service providers. So let's keep it like that. Or three software providers, and
Yep.
the thing is why we choose DinMo is because it's like European based, which was important for us. Then, like in the beginning, our criteria was actually it needs to be composable. So the shortlist just existed. So all candidates on the shortlist were composable CDPs. So that was also a reason why we chose DinMo, of course. And then, of course, the easy pricing structure, because if you ever made a comparison of those CDP providers in the market, it's really, really tough to compare the different pricing models. And this is also a reason why we chose DinMo, because the pricing model was, after some negotiations, pretty straightforward. Yeah, like for us, it was important to have a composable system because we don't like to be locked in, have a lock-in effect at one provider or one software. Because if you don't choose a composable CDP, you have the problem that you maybe implement a tracking, for example. Then these CDP ingest all data, which is fine, yeah, which is what a CDP should do. But the question is, when you want to move to another CDP because the one you chose doesn't develop anymore, whatever, like what's typical in software business, and what do you do then if you want to move to another provider then? So that's what I mean with lock-in effect. You can't really move. You don't often get your data out of that tool. And yeah, that's the reason why we chose. And of course, we have, I don't know if there's an English phrase for it. We have the thumb on our data. You know? In Germany, there's a phrase for it. We have a thumb on it. So it's like ours.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what an English phrase for that would be, but I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, perfect. That's great. So now let's talk a little bit more about the implementation and what this looked like. Could you just talk us through what the like the POC and the implementation look like from your perspective?
Mm-hmm. Like, okay, first let's talk about the implementation or setup. That was pretty straightforward. Like, we had to prepare our data warehouse because we hadn't really a data warehouse yet. So this is like nothing which should count as a typical implementation step, I would say, because, well, actually, you already should have a data warehouse. And then from that point on, implementation was pretty straightforward because, like, our structure, data model structure was pretty much the same as in DinMo, and the mapping was quite easy. And yeah, also connecting destinations and the data warehouse itself wasn't a big deal at all. So it was everything pretty straightforward and quite easy, I would say. Of course, with a little bit of help, but I think it's quite easy, manageable. Yeah.
Cool. Was it everything you were expecting it to be?
I thought it would be more effort actually, because usually software providers or service providers, whatever, oversell the low effort. But in that case, everything was, or the low effort wasn't a lie.
Perfect. No, we try and be pretty honest. We try and be pretty honest on that front. And in terms of the implementation, could you talk a little bit about the development of the June app in as much or as context? Because that was one of the connectors we built for you guys. I think during or just at the end of the POC. So as much as you're comfortable with talking about that would be great.
Yes. Yeah. During our proof of concept period or time frame, DinMo created the interface to our email marketing tool, which is also a German-based software, and that went quite fast. I think also in about, I don't know, it was 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks. So quite fast, faster than expected. And also calculated fields, which we definitely needed, which was also created. I'm not sure if in our POC, but I think the first version was also created in our POC phase.
I think so. It's a good memory. I forgot about that.
Because that was a feature we definitely needed to see like customer lifetime values actually.
Perfect. And what was the impact of having that versus what you would have had to have done previously should you have wanted to calculate lifetime value before DinMo?
Well, we were able to, but thing is a lot of manual work, and now like we have daily updated numbers and based on the segments, of course.
Cool. And then in terms of kind of use cases and the parts of the platform you're using, maybe let's just start with parts of the platform and specifically thinking about kind of, we've got the data activation part and then the customer hub. Can you tell us a little bit about which bits of the platforms you're using and what for?
So we're using the segmentation part to create different audience groups, for example, which are used in our online marketing campaigns and channels, and of course for email marketing. Moreover, we use this tool to exclude some customers from shopping in our online shop, or to exclude, let's say, the customers we don't want to have longer as our customers, that we don't approach them by email anymore. Moreover, we use it sometimes just for like really if I need a fast this is not the intent of the tool, but sometimes I use it for those cases. If I have a question, how many people bought that product last year, sometimes I just use DinMo to get a number. I know it's not an analytics tool, but sometimes I use it just for if I have a question in my mind, I need a fast answer instead of approaching our data analyst. I sometimes use DinMo just to get a number,
Yeah. No, that's
like it's like lazy analytics.
We can go with that. I'll use that term now with our other customers. If you want lazy analytics, then
it's like lazy analytics. Yes.
Carl can show you how to do that.
And like just to see, okay, how many people from Munich bought in our shop last year, and then I can directly see the share. So this is quite cool for questions like those, which are in my mind sometimes. Moreover, the customer hub, we're using the customer hub, we did use the customer hub for test now. We set up a print campaign and wanted to make an incrementality test, so that 50% of the users received the postcard and 50% didn't receive a postcard. And the results were not as expected, but that's okay. But we were able to perform the test easily.
Awesome. And so if in terms of then, if we're thinking results, and I know you said it's not necessarily like acquisition costs or anything like that, but in terms of what you can achieve now, or time time to test or time to implement a new audience, for example. Do you have any estimates or any numbers that you could tie to speed to test or speed to audience, for example?
I think it's audience creation is fast with DinMo. That's nothing to discuss about. It's more like enabling the team to create their own audiences if they want to. This is something which we weren't able to do before. Now everybody can create audiences when they want to do. Then, of course, the connection to the ad platforms, like this is also an asset somehow. And
how many people have you got on the platform?
Currently, we have 3 people or 4 people on the platform. Yes,
and they will use it on a weekly basis, I'd imagine.
Well, as you don't change segments
that
often, not because usually we have more like evergreen campaigns. We usually try to work with evergreen campaigns as we don't do sales or voucher things. So we are like kind of not quite boring when it comes to marketing campaigns. We have a really not that sale approach.
Perfect.
We have a more brand driven approach.
Understood. So everybody knows who you are. No, that's totally fair. Perfect. And then final question: how do you see DinMo fitting in with your long-term strategy?
We're happy to work with DinMo, and also I think it's a quite future-proof solution. As I said, because it's a composable solution, we are not locked in. We can move if we want. No, I think data activation becomes more and more important because online marketing gets more and more expensive, and therefore you need strategies to either work on your existing customers and improve your customer acquisition when it comes to new customers.
If you could give any advice to any prospective clients, if there was anybody that was considering a POC or considering using a composable CDP more broadly, what would your suggestion to them be?
What prospects should be aware when choosing a CDP, or what do you mean?
So if they were looking to choose something like a DinMo, a composable CDP, yes, and they were on the fence about it, so they weren't sure, what would you say to them that would perhaps convince them that a composable CDP like DinMo is a good solution?
Yeah, I would say, as before, like try to understand the pricing structure of the other products, because the pricing structure is sometimes really a trap at some other products, to be honest. Because if you further push in the negotiations into detail, like pushing into detail, then it comes okay. Is it the exporting part of the audience which you pay, like the amount, or is it the ones you import, or whatever? Then is it like creating the segment, or is it multiplied by the destination you push it? Yeah. Like this is really important when comparing those tools, and then moreover, I would check where those solutions are based. I think this is also quite important, and you should definitely check try platforms when it comes to how easy is it to set up segments, audience, and of course how complicated or how much effort does it take to have a first test running. Well, the setup in general. I think those are the most important parts, because like setups well, it's IT. Yeah, setups can take from hours to months or even years. Yeah.
Yep. And if and just on that detail there, if you talk about DinMo setup, and could you talk a little bit in terms of numbers about how if you remember roughly how long it took to actually set up and get to the first use case?
It was more hours than days. Yeah, like it was quite fast after some support of yours, but yeah, it was quite fast. Like when the data warehouse is existing, I think you can make it from. I think when data warehouse is existing and you connect it to the platform, you can make it in about an hour, I would say. Or
that's what we aim for.
What do you think? I think if the the connection is done, I think it's possible, because then you just need to connect the tables with the relations. Yeah, and then you can set it. I think it's possible. Yeah.
Well, I've done it in 6 minutes, Carl. If that helps prove that thesis.
Yeah. I think it's possible because you just need to establish the relations actually. So it's possible. It all depends a bit on the data warehouse, if it's existing or not. If it's already existing and if it's not, I don't know, on a server you don't support yet, then it's easy, I think. Yeah.
Awesome, perfect. All right, I think that's those are all the main questions. Ashley, maybe a good time. I know you've been listening in the background. Is there anything in particular that I missed, or that you think is worth us kind of talking over again explicitly, or?
No, I think it's all good. Hi, Carl. It's nice to meet you. I just give you a little intro. I do RevOps at DinMo. But no, it looks good. Everything, you answered some really great questions for us. That's everything from my side. Everything from your side, Ed?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Carl, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I really hope at some point we can see you guys in person, and we can go out for dinner somewhere, because we'll definitely, if we're in Germany, we'll let you know, and likewise if you're in London.
Definitely.
Please let us know. Awesome. Thank you so much, Carl. Appreciate it.
Nice
Take
to
care.
meet
We'll speak
you.
soon.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.